The last thing we need is another war in the Middle East. And folks, my greatest worry is, does anyone have confidence that Donald Trump has thought through what the next steps are? I mean, think about it. I know it almost sounds, I spent my whole life doing national security and foreign policy. As chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, and the reason why President Obama picked me was because of my background in national security and foreign policy and intelligence matters. You don't do things this way.
And we're back, baby. We're back. America is back. Just like Joe Biden said, we are back to the good old days of the Bush, Cheney, Obama, Biden foreign policy. Okay, where we just do random airstrikes in Syria and get involved in countries that we really have no business being involved in. Back to the Middle East we go. Okay, that's the Biden foreign policy. Right. And again, if you guys haven't heard, about 30 some days into his presidency, Joe Biden has issued an airstrike in Syria. OK, so let's listen to CNN give us more details about the specifics of this strike and why it happened. Let's take a listen.
He's been president for less than a month, or just over a month, I should say, and Joe Biden has now ordered his first military strike of his presidency. The targets were Iranian-backed Iraqi militia based in eastern Syria, just across the Iraqi border, which, according to the Pentagon, were behind at least 3 separate attacks on U.S. assets in Iraq. The most recent was last week, when a coalition base at the Erbil airport came under rocket and mortar fire. A civilian contractor was killed, 5 Americans hurt. The U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd offered few details as to what precisely was hit by these U.S. airstrikes.
We're confident in the target that we went after. We know what we hit. And we're confident that that target was being used by the same Shia militia that conducted the strikes.
For more details,
don't that sound familiar? Don't that sound familiar? And my guy, Lloyd Austin, right, kind of signifies the Democrats, okay? And the war machine that is brought to you by racial equality, right? We got a black man that's the defense secretary here. It's okay because we're also passing the Equality Act in the background. So guys, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the war machine. Don't worry about what's going on in the Middle East. Don't worry about any of that. Because don't worry, here domestically, we got a black man calling the shots. And we have LGBTQ flag on all the missiles. Okay, so, this is the Biden administration, right? Bush/Obama era foreign policy brought to you by Equality and Raytheon.
For more details, here's CNN's Oren Lieberman reporting in from the Pentagon.
The airstrike against a site in eastern Syria along the Iraq-Syria border is the first known military action under President Joe Biden. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said it was his recommendation, and then Biden gave the final authorization for the strikes on Thursday morning. A U.S. official familiar with the strikes said up to a handful of militants were killed in that airstrike. And they come after a series of rocket attacks against U.S. and coalition forces operating in Iraq. First in Erbil about a week and a half ago, then in Balad Air Force Base just north of the city of Baghdad, and then the Green Zone in Baghdad itself. Austin said that part of the messaging here, and Pentagon spokesman John Kirby backed this up, was first that there will be a response to these rocket attacks, and second, to deter future rocket attacks. Austin made it clear that they're confident that it was Iranian-backed Shia militias that were operating in these sites that were struck by the U.S. Air Force, and it was those same militias responsible for the rocket attacks. Up until now, the U.S. hadn't attributed the rocket attacks to anyone, but now pinpointing it on Iranian-backed Shia militias and more broadly holding Iran responsible for the actions of its proxies in Syria and in Iraq. This comes at a crucial time for the Biden administration when it comes to Iran, as it tries to figure out what to do and how to work diplomatically about Iran's nuclear program, also signaling that it wants to broaden out the agreement to include Iran's ballistic missiles and Iran's actions in the region. Oren Lieberman, CNN, at the Pentagon.
All right, so in a nutshell, they attacked a building that they felt like was an asset of Iranian-backed Shia militias in Syria as a response to a prior rocket attack that they believe was done by them, right? So they're using this to send a message to Iran and say, hey, listen, we're not just going to let you bully us any type of way and get in between our agenda in Syria, but at the same time, we still want to do this nuclear deal with you guys, okay? So we're going to do a targeted attack, right? We're going to send a message, and then we can go from there. Please come to the negotiating table when it comes to this Iran nuclear deal. That's basically what the Biden administration is saying here. Now, it's just funny to me. It's just real funny to me because, you know, in the past, Biden and Psaki have both been critical of Trump, right? Which, you know, with Trump's foreign policy, you know, he's been way less hawkish than Obama, Bush, you know the list, right? He's been way less hawkish, right? Even, you know, it's been said that President Trump has been trying to pull troops out of Syria, okay? He's been trying to pull troops out of the Middle East, right? And that, you know, the establishment obviously is going to push back against him for trying to do that, and they did, right? I mean, he even tried to get more authority for the president to pull troops out of the Middle East with the NDAA kerfuffle that was going on, right? That was a part of what he wanted in exchange for signing off on that spending bill. So in the past, Biden and Psaki had criticized Trump for Trump's military actions. So let's look at some of the hypocrisy here from the Democrats. Past Twitter messages from President Biden and one of his top aides, both criticizing former President Trump, weren't appearing to age well Thursday after Biden ordered airstrikes against Iranian-backed militia stronghold in Syria. In 2017, Jen Psaki, now White House press secretary, questioned what the Trump administration's legal authority for the strikes was in Syria following a Trump-ordered military action. Quote, Assad is a brutal dictator, she tweeted, but Syria is a sovereign country. Now, I wonder, does she have those same feelings, okay, about Biden? Okay, is Syria still a sovereign country? I would like to know from Ms. Jen Psaki. When Psaki's nearly 4-year-old tweet resurfaced, many Twitter users appreciated irony. Quote, hey girl, I guess you circled back on this one, huh? One user wrote, great tweet. I look forward to you condemning Joe Biden's illegal strikes in your press conference tomorrow, another person commented. Even progressive U.S. Representative Ilhan Omar, a Democrat, retweeted Psaki's old post, writing sarcastically, great question. In April 2017, the Trump administration launched airstrikes against Syria in retaliation for a chemical weapons attack the Assad regime carried out on its own people. In October 2019, then presidential candidate Joe Biden called then President Trump's decision to withdraw troops from northern Syria erratic and impulsive. Okay? So he said it was erratic and impulsive to withdraw troops from Syria. That's what Biden said. The events of the past week have had devastating clarity of just how dangerous this president is, Biden said during a speech in Iowa about Trump's decision, which critics saw as abandoning Kurdish allies in the region. In Thursday's attack, the Biden administration targeted Iraqi border-based Shia militia groups Kataib Hezbollah and Kataib Salid al-Shuhada, which are suspected of having received funding and military support from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard. A senior official said the strike was a shot across the bow and a defensive strategy intended to deter Iran and its militias from launching rockets at U.S. forces in the region, like the recent attacks in Iraq. All right, guys. So there you have it. The hypocrisy of the Democrats is on full display once again. Okay, and this is funny how this comes at a time where the Democrats are pushing the Equality Act. Okay, they're supposed to be, you know, race crusaders. They're pushing all this social justice stuff while at the same time going back to the same old foreign policy that you know, most people thought we were getting away from under the Trump administration. Now, again, obviously Trump has done some things, you know, under his foreign policy However, he has, unlike his predecessors, has been vocal about wanting to withdraw troops and attempting to do so. Right. So, the thing is, it's just funny because the Democrats basically doing the same thing they criticized Trump for doing. Right. And this is the same stuff they try to do with the border, with the kids in cages. Democrats put kids in cages. Right. All of a sudden, it's kids in containers. Right. It's not cages anymore. Right. And I guess that these are airstrikes of peace. Right. I guess that's how the Democrats are going to frame this. And it's just funny how this is what Biden's doing 30 days into his presidency, and we still don't have any stimulus checks. They folded on the minimum wage increase, which again, I'm cool with that. But, there is no COVID relief. All the things that they promised that they're not going to do, they're doing. And all the things they promised that they're going to do, they're not doing. So it seems like the Biden administration's new slogan should be promises made, promises broken. So it is what it is. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.